a notification here in a moment, just asking if you approve for that to be recorded so that you can stay a part of the session tonight. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to keep letting in some folks from the waiting room.
And can we also ask whoever is managing George's autopilot to please turn that off or disable it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. And so as we're getting started, if you'll just drop us a note in the chat so we can get to know you. Just let us know where you're from, when you're interested in starting the PhD program. Just by way of a quick agenda for how our meeting tonight's going to go. So we'll give you an overview of the program about 30 minutes. And then we'll have about 10 or 15 minutes for questions at the end. So we'll be happy to answer those questions for you as we go along. But with that, I'm going to turn it to Dr. Kish so she can tell us more just about the PhD program.
Thanks, Morgan, and welcome, everybody. We're so glad to see you all and have you here with us. The PFP, so Personal Financial Planning Doctoral Program at K-State, is housed within the College of Health and Human Sciences, which depending on your academic background, may seem like an interesting place to have a program like ours. But actually, because we are a land-grant university, it's kind of typical to have our subject matter in a College of Health and Human Sciences, variously called human ecology or human environmental sciences. They have a lot of names for our colleges. So anyway, that's just a little bit to let you know about why we're in the college that we're in. But the program is really designed to provide talented and ambitious students, which seems like all of you may be, with the knowledge, skills, and tools necessary to achieve success as a college and university faculty member and as practitioners of financial planning. So in a few slides, we'll let you know where some of our graduates have gone. But the program itself is 90 credit hours, and up to 30 credit hours can be transferred in to the program towards supporting an elective course requirements. Typically, students complete the program in 3.5 to 5 years. Some longer, some slightly faster, but 3.5 is really having your skates on and being efficient with your time. We typically admit 6 to 8 students per cohort, and cohorts start in the late summer in August of every year. And then the spring and fall courses are 100% online. The summer session, when the incoming cohort starts the program, is on the K-State campus, and it is always the week of that the 1st of August is part of.
Thanks, Dr. Kiss. So as you can see there, the PhD is a research degree, which specifically means we're going to be focusing on expanding the footprint of the impact that we are having, not only on the profession, but also clients and individuals that fall within that paradigm. The topics aren't limited to just maybe the topics that you've thought of from a certified financial planner designation standpoint. It's not limited to just insurance, retirement, and investments. There is an integration of the behavioral finance or the client psychology along with the retirement planning aspects or any of the other financial planning topics that are there. What you'll see is that the methods we use are primarily quantitative, which means we are collecting data, or the students are collecting data and then running statistical analysis on that and then providing interpretations for that. The other side of that is the qualitative side, where individuals or students are interviewing individuals to gather research data in that form. While we do have some examples of that, again, we're going to be a primarily quantitative research degree. And if you want to see what some of the other research topics are that the faculty have a significant interest in, you can check out the CVs that are listed there. And I'd highly recommend that to make sure that it's in line with what you are trying to accomplish in getting this degree as well. see here a list of the recent dissertations and publications that students and faculty have completed. What you'll notice is as you're coming into this, you're going to continue to narrow down the topic focus that's there. And so while you might start out broad, for example, like I did with credit card spending and retirement, you will continue to narrow that down the deeper you go into the curriculum and the more you find out about the pre-existing research that is out there that other individuals have completed as well.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit later about the application process and the timeline for actually getting started, but I want to start here first with what does it look like when you actually get started in the program. So if you know that this is something that you're interested in and you want to get started in research with K-State, what is it going to look like once you're actually enrolled? So what I've got for you here is a sample graduation plan, depending on what device you're joining by. It might not be easy to see right now, so you can email me to request a copy of this sample plan. My email address is here, morgangraham@ksu.edu. But here's what we're looking at for a typical schedule for a student entering the program. So it's fully online, like we mentioned before, in the fall and spring. But in the summer, which for the PhD program, summer for us is going to be the first 2 weeks of August. Sometimes that'll bleed into late July. But the first 2 weeks of August, and the first 3 years of enrollment in the program, students are going to be on campus with us here in Manhattan, Kansas. So we are in the Little Apple, but you'll be here on campus with us for the first 2 weeks in August, and you'll be taking 4 credits worth of classes in those 2 weeks. So it keeps you busy, but it's a great way for students to engage with faculty, with their own cohort, across cohorts. There will be 3 on campus at any given time, and you're learning a lot of skills in that time. I had a student say to me last summer, she just couldn't believe how much she had learned in the 10 days that she was here. So, so starting on campus in the summer, you'll also see that that is the earliest point to start in the program. So each cohort that's admitted will start in August of the academic year that they start. So starting in summer with 4 credits. The other classes that you'll see in fall and spring, so the ones that are listed at the top, those are going to be the classes that are fixed in terms of timing that you'll take them. So you'll progress through those with your cohort. And so you'll have at least 3 credits that you're taking at that time. And then there's going to be some additional credits that you're going to be adding to your schedule. And so you'll see those here about midway through, some additional research and professional courses. Those that you see right there, those are going to be flexible in terms of timing. And so it'll depend on each student. And there are also credits that are generally going to be repeated. So for instance, that research seminar, it's a 1 credit class that you complete twice. That PFP 808 research applications, or you'll hear us call that research cluster. That's a 3 credit class that's completed 3 times. And so we'll see students kind of vary in terms of when they add that to your schedule. But you'll see now we're starting to kind of build credits in your fall and spring semesters. So you might take 3 credits, 4 credits, 6 credits, but you'll usually have a couple of classes in the fall and spring. Depending on your academic and professional background, you'll also see these courses down here at the bottom, the core CFP content and also some elective courses that we may also have to add in your schedule. And so when we're looking at the full 90 credits that are required for the PhD, if you're entering with a master's degree in any discipline, then you'll be able to transfer up to 12 credits towards the elective course requirement. If you're entering with a master's in a CFP, then you'll get to we'll get to do what we call a block transfer of 30 credit hours. And so that's going to bring you down from 90 for the PhD down to 60 credits. And so then you'll be focusing just entirely on the research and the professional credits. And so when we're looking at, okay, how much time are you dedicating? You know, we're looking at the timeline to graduation. So those first 3 years are pretty fixed of what you're doing for your actual coursework. And then once you get to your preliminary exam or comprehensive exam, after that, you know, you're really kind of setting your own timeline for your dissertation. And that's all you're doing after that 3rd spring. And so that's where we look at, we say, okay, typically 3.5 to 5 years. Most students are going to land in about the 4.5 year range. 4 to 4.5 years is what we typically see. So that looks like about a year, year and a half for dissertation. Also got a little note down here just about a possible prerequisite class that you may take. And so that might be an intro or fundamentals of statistics class. There's an option to complete that at K-State with Stat 703, or you can do that through another institution or through online resources. But that may be another course and additional credits that you may see added to your schedule. So that way you're coming in, with a review of statistics, just depending on how long it's been. A lot of students will benefit from having that statistic review. However, there are opportunities to get started on those credits along the way. As we're looking at that schedule we saw where students are going to take anywhere from 3 to 6 credits in a fall or spring semester, 100% of our students in our program are working full-time. So this is a program that's designed for working professionals, which is really great because it means you don't have to uproot and move, here to Manhattan, Kansas. We'd love to have you here on campus with us and have you here in the Little Apple, but you do not have to. You get to maintain your life and your career and family and all the things you got going on. You get to keep those going while you're working on the degree. What that means, though, depending on the number of credits you may need, is that your schedule can get kind of full if you need those electives, if you need the CFP content. So there are opportunities to get started on some of those credits early. And so that can be by way of a graduate certificate or even through our master's degree, which is a combination of any of these two graduate certificates. So I mentioned before starting the PhD, there's only one entry point every year, which is going to be in August. But with these certificate classes, and again, just looking at the core content down here at the bottom, these 6 CFP classes or the electives, there are 5 points throughout the year that you can get started. So if you know you need those credits, you can be working on a certificate ahead of time, and that just really offsets your schedule later once you get into those research and stats and all those other classes that'll keep you really busy. So just a quick overview of what those certificates are. So this first one on the left-hand side, we've got the Personal Financial Planning Certificate. It's 6 courses, 18 credits. It takes about 14 months to complete those. It is the full CFP, Certified Financial Planner content. It makes you eligible for the CFP exam if you haven't already sat for that. And it's going to cover insurance, retirement, investments, tax, estate planning, and then there is a comprehensive case studies or capstone class as required by CFP board. So again, 6 courses, you can complete those in about 14 months, fully online. All of those classes, if you're looking at that timeline, all of those classes are 8 weeks long each. And so typically students are going to do 2 in a semester, but 1 at a time. And so that's how you get through at that 14-month pace. Looking then at the second column, the Financial Therapy Graduate Certificate. So 4 courses here for 12 credit hours. And so again, this would cover the elective requirement if you need that for the PhD. And so this is completed in approximately 10 months. Financial therapy is something that is really unique to K-State. And K-State was the first university with a financial therapy program. And it really defines the type of research being conducted at K-State. And so it could be just something you're interested in for your own professional benefit in your practice if you're a financial planner, but it can also serve you as you're looking towards the PhD program to really familiarize yourself with the type of research and literature that is out there, a lot of it coming from K-State. And so that's another way to if you're just really eager to get started, if you get admitted and you don't want to wait till August, you can start with these financial therapy classes and just really orient yourself again to the content that's out there related to the research that you'll be doing. After that, we also have the Advanced Financial Planning Certificate, 4 classes, 12 credits. These are a continuation of the CFP content, so Advanced Estate Planning, Retirement Tax, and Practice Management. Again, completed in approximately 10 months. And so again, if you're needing electives as part of your full 90 credits for the PhD, you can get an early start with one of these certificates. So looking at the application requirements, sorry, I'm going to move my Zoom off my screen a little bit. So first, an undergraduate GPA of 3.0 or higher. This is a requirement of the graduate school. We have a lot of PhD students or PhD applicants coming in also with a master's degree. So we'll look at your master's degree GPA as well. I talked to someone recently who had concerns about their undergrad GPA, but they had a really high GPA for their master's, for their MBA. And so that's something we're going to look at because that demonstrates, your ability to be successful with graduate study. But an undergraduate GPA of 3.0 or higher, we are, as part of the application, we'll collect transcripts from any institution you attended for credit prior to K-State. So if you've done your CFP or another designation, but you didn't do it for academic credit, you don't have to report that. But anything else that you did for credit prior to attending K-State, we'll get a transcript for that. The most asked question that we get. So we do require the GRE or GMAT. You get to pick. GRE or GMAT with scores dated within 5 years of your application. There are no exceptions here. So do want to underscore that at this point, there are no exceptions to this, regardless of professional or academic background. This is something we require of all applicants. So a GRE or GMAT score. In addition on that application, we're going to collect a 2-page personal statement and a 2-page research statement. And we have guidelines and instructions available for that on our program website. 3 letters of recommendation from current or former faculty, colleagues, or other professionals. And so as you're considering who you might ask to be a reference for you on your application, it is definitely helpful if you have at least one academic reference on there who can speak to you as a student. And then again, colleagues as well, but really just anyone who can speak to your ability to be successful in a graduate level program. You know, it is very rigorous program. So someone who can speak to your ability to be successful and also can speak to your purpose for being in the program, because that why is really important. And that's something we'll talk about. A copy of your resume or CV. Throughout the process, we'll talk to you about the commitment to participate in the 10-day summer residency on campus for those first 3 years. That summer session is important and it is non-negotiable. So we want to make sure that you can commit to that. And then also commitment to attend professional and academic association meetings. And so that's going to be different conferences or events that'll take place throughout the year. And we can talk more about really what involvement we want to see from students, but that's going to be anywhere from attending just to start out, but also later participating, you know, presenting a poster, presenting a paper, presenting a session, and things like that. With that, I am going to pause here and turn it over to Dr. Kish and then Dr. Sensenig so they can talk a little bit more about why K-State.
Sure. So you've heard about what we ask of our students and our applicants, what we consider when we are deciding to offer admittance to a student, but what do we as K-State, what can we offer to all of you? And I would say, first of all, we offer very highly committed faculty. We have very active Ph.D. faculty, very committed. We get to know the students, publish with them, work on projects with the students. We also support the students as we can and make sure they have access to the K-State resources that they might need to be successful. Also, you get that support from fellow students in your cohort, as well as students in previous cohorts. And then there's also, you know, the whole thing about mentoring up, right? As you come along, you might get some support from cohorts that are behind yours. Morgan did mention this, but you are able to complete the program online while working full-time if that's what your life requires or you want to do. I will emphasize again that in-person participation in the summer session is required though, and is not negotiable. So that's very important to keep in mind. Then there are these opportunities for professional designations that you may not have. The certified financial planner, accredited financial counselor, which if you're not familiar with that is through the Association of Financial Counseling and Planning, certified financial therapist through Financial Therapy Association, and the certified financial behavior specialist. And I think I might need to ask Professor Sensenig to help me out and remind me who offers that certification. But as it does say, you will need to meet additional requirements as determined by that organization, but your preparation in your coursework will put you in good stead to earn those. Professor Sensenig.
Awesome. Thank you. So the Certified Financial Behavior Specialist is actually offered by the Financial Psychology Institute, and it is becoming a little bit more popular as we see the integration between financial therapy, behavioral finance, client psychology, all of those coming together. But certainly the most popular one of that list is going to be the Certified Financial Planner designation.
And I would just add to that, we have two tremendous faculty on here, and they're two of several that we do have. Really, the faculty, I think, are what sets K-State apart in many ways, the quality of faculty and the quality of students. We do have deliberately small admission cohorts, and one of the main driving factors for that is how closely involved the faculty are with our students. And so that means a lot of times students coming along on projects that faculty already have started. And a lot of times it is student-driven projects that faculty are supporting and guiding. And so, again, we have those small cohorts are what allow our students to be published anywhere from 3 to 6 times on average prior to graduation, and sometimes a lot more. If you look at our LinkedIn, you'll see where we like to highlight our students from time to time, where they're joining editorial boards, where they're getting published, they're presenting. And so the faculty are, as Dr. Kish said, just very committed to the student's experience and student success, and really just preparing you as a researcher.
Add into the research aspect of that. If you have never done research before, do not let that scare you away from the program. I did not complete any peer-reviewed research prior to the program, but you have the full support of all of the faculty that are here. And so as you're doing that research, it is not going to be just you out on an island by yourself. You will be working in partnership with the faculty here. And so do not let that deter you from anything, because you're not just going to be alone on these projects trying to figure out how to run the statistical analysis and how to do the various research methods and the theory and things like that. The professor for the specific class that you're taking that is doing the research is going to help lead that and will provide you all of the guidance and direction that is necessary. And so as you see the list here with the current and past student positions that they have accepted after their graduation, you can look at this list, but it's important to understand that you're not limited to these positions that are here. You can see some of the very broad ones: owner, president, senior financial planner, senior vice president of financial planning. Those are all within RIAs or larger financial institutions. And then you can see some of the academic related professions. But this is really going to be a combination of, or the position that you choose after graduation is going to be a combination of your industry experience within the financial planning profession, your life experience, what other positions have you filled in the past that may be beneficial to it, then also your research topics, and then future goals for your career. So this just gives you a primer for some of those ideas, but don't limit yourself to just these positions that are there. There's many more, and the options will continue to grow. And then similar to the positions, the companies or institutions that are listed there, you are not limited to those. And so you can also choose to create your own path. So you're not limited to just these institutions. Certainly they are some of the leaders there in hiring the various individuals with PhDs in financial planning. But as more people are exposed to research, and small, medium, and large size companies start to see the benefits of the research, you're going to see those opportunities expand as well.
All right, so looking at just a few more of the questions that we get asked quite a bit as students are considering the program. So cost is obviously a big one. The current cost per credit hour, this is just posted through summer of 24. And so we could see some changes for academic year 24-25. But the current cost per credit hour, so $661.13 per credit hour. And just remembering, as we look back at that graduation plan, if you could need anywhere from 60 to 90 credits for the program. Funding, there is some funding available through our department for presenting at conferences, for attending industry events. In terms of funding towards admission or enrollment, There's some opportunities available through the K-State Grad School, through K-State Online. Those are the primary sources of scholarships for our program. Other than that, we do have students who are able to pursue outside funding and grants, and then federal aid as well. How to apply. So we did look at the items collected through the application, but if you're ready to get started, one thing that I'm realizing now that I had on my slide before, but I just did not mention, and so I'll come back to it. It's in bright yellow. I don't know how I missed it. Is the annual application deadline. And so, so each cohort begins in August, and the application deadline currently is December 1 of the year prior. So, so we have passed our application deadline to start in 2024 for students starting in August. So the next opportunity is to apply by December of this year to start in August of 25. I am sorry I didn't mention that before. That is a very important detail that we don't want to overlook. So again, if you're ready to get started, just go to online.k-state.edu and click how to apply, and that'll walk you through the online application. But so plenty of time to get that GRE or GMAT squared away, to get started on your personal statement, your research statement. And then as you're going through this process, if you have any questions, any of us that are here on the call tonight are happy to talk to you, but you can reach out to us at pfp@ksu.edu, online at ksu.edu. But another way that you can reach us, I am happy to meet with any of you to answer questions, talk about kind of your unique situation. You can schedule a meeting with me at calendly.com/MorganGrahamKSU. Very happy to meet with you. We can always look again closer at that sample graduation plan, talk about your timeline, things like that. Very happy to meet with you. But with that, I know we have some questions in the chat, so we'll start looking through those. And if you have any other questions, please go ahead and get those in there. Also happy to just kind of see where everyone's coming from. We've got folks from all over. I see some folks from down the road in Kansas City, so happy you're here tonight. Okay, so looking at some questions, would credits count on top of master's credits that can apply as transfer credit? Yeah, so I think that's probably where we were looking at some of those classes for the certificates. And so, so if you have if you have a master's degree that would already count towards the electives and you're considering adding a certificate, could that all kind of be paired together towards the overall credits for the PhD? Yes, I'd be happy to talk to you directly just to see kind of your own, look at your own transcript, your own academic background. But in that case, yes, we could do kind of configure credit by credit to be transferred in towards the PhD requirements. During summer semesters at the university is room and board covered. So that is going to be covered by individual students. You'll have the option if you want to stay on campus, you can stay in a dorm and get a meal plan, get the full student experience if it's been a while and you want to have a little fun that way. Or we have students who will get an Airbnb, a hotel, you know, different arrangements. A lot of times in the first year, students are still getting to know each other, so they may or may not pair up and, you know, share a buddy in a room, but usually by second or third summer, a lot of them will share like a larger space and they can kind of offset those costs that way by staying together as a group. So it's not covered, but there are options and we provide a lot of details on how you can get here, how you can travel into Manhattan and make your arrangements. I see a question about the CFA. Is there any transfer credit for the CFA? If you did any graduate level classes to prepare for the CFA, there could be a transfer opportunity there. For the designation itself, unfortunately, it cannot be transferred in. Good question here about the study abroad component to the program. So historically, there was an international trip that students would take in their 4th summer of the program. Obviously, in 2020 and the years after, that was disrupted. And so that was put on pause for a while. And then in more recent years, it is something that we have decided to remove from the program requirements. So potentially in the future, we could see that come back. But as of where we stand right now, we no longer require the international trip. An LLM in tax and an LLM in wealth management, a JD, would that be considered towards the 30 credit transfer that's available for the CFP masters? So definitely would cover in terms of the elective requirements, those 12 credit hours. I think there would be an opportunity for probably 3 to 6 more credits for the CFP curriculum, especially in the tax area. For the full CFP requirement, we would want to look at that a little more closely. I can't guarantee that it would cover the full 30 credits because we do require our students to either have the full CFP content or the CFP certification, or to even have passed the CFP exam. Since there is an LLM and a JD involved, if you are a licensed attorney, you could always look into it was formerly challenge status, the accelerated path with CFP board, which allows you to sit for the exam with just one class, the capstone. And so that could be a more efficient route to get that CFP exam pass, and then we could pair it for the block transfer. So again, definitely something, okay, good, taking the exam in July. So you're right on the right track. So again, that's one of those, unique individual student situations. I'd be happy to talk to you about that directly. But yeah, if you pass in July, I hope you do, then in that case, you would qualify for that 30 credit block transfer. Okay. I'm just scrolling through. Any other questions that anyone wants to add into the chat? Oh, I love this question. Will completing the master's program first reduce the number of, oh, sorry, I misread that. Still a good question. Reduce the number of summers required to complete the PhD. So those first 3 summers on campus are not changed by the master's because those are different classes. I'll just jump back a little bit. So when we're looking at those summers, we've got PFP 825, 806, and 956, and then 894 is a 3 credit class. You do 1 credit of it each summer. Those are not part of the master's degree. So if you do the master's ahead of time to get 30 credits out of the way, you're going to be doing that with the 18 credits of, and I'll open it this way. It's a little easier to see. With the 18 credits of the CFP content, and then 12 credits of either financial therapy or advanced financial planning. If you have a CFP but not a master's degree, then the other route for you could be to do the master's ahead of time, to do that with the financial therapy 12 credits, the advanced planning 12 credits, and then you'd have 6 credits of electives to round out the 30 for the master's degree. But again, just going back to the question that was asked, does that change anything for the actual summer session where you're here on campus? No, it does not change that because those are separate classes specific to the PhD, and that attendance is required.
And I'd also add in the question that, or your response to that question. The summer's probably, certainly it's hard as working professionals to take a full 2 weeks off to come out, but it is probably one of the most beneficial times that you will spend in the entire curriculum, because you get to meet the professors face to face, you get to meet your classmates face to face, and then you get to sit in those classes in person. And some of those statistical classes have a significant impact on the research that you're going to do for the dissertation. And so getting to have that interaction for the 10 days is extremely helpful in completing the program, and then also building relationships with other highly motivated individuals that are working down a similar path as yourself. And so even if somebody could limit the number of summers there or reduce the number of summers, I would, even outside of this, encourage the attendance there, just because of how influential that summertime is for everybody in the cohort, and then meeting other students that are 1 year ahead and maybe a year behind, or 2 years ahead of you as well. So
absolutely. And I think that kind of plays into, I mentioned briefly earlier, the why of doing a PhD. And I think that's really one of the most important things to be considering. It is a very rigorous process. It's a commitment of time, of money, of attention. It's a sacrifice on you and oftentimes your family members as well. And having that why as a very defined is really important. And then another piece, that why plays into your success and hopefully your ability to graduate, but also that support and those connections and that network that you're building in the program. You are doing this from a distance. And that's really hard to do if you don't have really clearly defined peer support with peers in your cohort, but also from faculty. So it is a very critical piece of the program.
And I would just add about the summers, it doesn't happen all the time, but periodically we have students who have completed their 3 summers and done some things, but then they want to come back. And so sometimes they come and they work, or, they have reasons to come back, but that routine of coming in the summer and getting sort of that inspiration of being together face to face, I think can also be very motivating and help, because let's face it, doctoral study, it can be very lonely. And so when you can connect with other people who are going through it or have gone through it, that can be really motivating and help you keep going. Because it's not all a piece of cake, let me tell you. But it's fun.
Yeah. And we're here to support you along the way as much as we can. Sorry, just letting one more person in from the waiting room. So starting the certificate programs now while waiting for the August 25 start date. Absolutely. And that is something I definitely encourage where possible. First to, you can use it kind of a few different ways. If you're considering if this is a good fit for you and you'd need those credits regardless, the certificate classes are a really good way to test the waters of K-State, of online learning, of this subject matter. And again, you're accomplishing credits earlier, which just really offsets your schedule down the line. If you're going to need those credits later anyway, why not kind of balance out your schedule just to reduce your own stress where possible? With the certificate classes, and again, when I refer to the certificate classes, it's all of these here at the bottom under the core and the elective. Those are all 8 weeks long. And so there's an opportunity to start any of those certificates 5 times throughout the year. So January, March, June, August, October. It is possible to start here on March 18th, which is the start of our next session of classes, or you could start this summer on June 3rd. But again, those are the entry points throughout the year. The maximum amount of time a student can take to complete the program. So we have policy and we have preference there. So looking at it from a policy perspective from the grad school, you have 7 years from after passing your preliminary exams, which happens typically in your 3rd spring or in your 3rd fall. When we look at it from a program perspective, I'd love for Dr. Kish or Dr. Sensnig to add some color there of what we would like to see and how students have been successful in the amount of time given.
Yeah, I might answer that. So each year, and the graduate school requires all PhD programs to do this across campus. So it's not just PFP, but we do an annual evaluation with each student to make sure they're making adequate progress toward the degree, because we don't want people, and research has shown the longer it takes, the less likely people are to finish, unless there's some mitigating life circumstance that really takes your focus away for a year or two. But I think our preference is, and we really push toward just adequate forward progress, right? So for the first 3 years, you focus on getting through the coursework, you do the research clusters, you're part of some research projects, you're working on submitting manuscripts for publication, you're working on submitting and presenting research at conferences. After that, after you've completed your coursework, then we understand there's usually a bit of a breather, or you want to take a little bit of a breath, but then you need to start studying for your preliminary exams, and those are now offered at 2 specific times in the year, once in the fall and once in the spring. And so you have to plan for that and make sure you're ready. And then after that, you work on your proposal, and then do what you need to do from your proposal meeting to complete the analysis and complete the write-up. And that makes it sound very quick, and it's not necessarily quick. It takes some time. So really the 3.5 is very fast, in my opinion. People do it, and it can be done, but so we just, and especially if we don't hear from you, right? If Morgan doesn't hear from you, or eventually if your advisor or your co-chair or your chair of your dissertation committee doesn't hear from you, that's when the program and the university starts to reach out to you, and just to find out what's going on, what can we do to help? Are you still committed? Is this something you think you can still do? So hopefully that provides some more sort of background in our approach, is always to support students and not to add additional stress. But we do need to know what's going on, because we also need to try to manage our own faculty loads. And so if students are not making adequate progress along the way, then we can end up with these bulges, which we just went through last semester when we have like 7 to 8 students trying to finish all at once. And, you know, we are a small faculty really. And so that puts a lot of strain on our resources in the department.
And I just add to that, you know, if we look at the question there from a realistic standpoint, I would set the goal as being 4.5 years as the maximum time. Certainly, Morgan outlined the expectations and then the policies and things like that. But it's like anything else that you're doing consistently. You want to stay in those good habits of research and get it completed, because it also then allows you to go pursue other opportunities in the financial planning world. And you want to get to those as soon as possible as well. So that 3.5 to 4.5 year time frame is really the sweet spot that you want to focus on. And naturally, there are some things in life that can take you a little bit further down that timeline, but under the things that you can control, I would definitely make the goal that 4-ish year time frame.
Mm-hmm. And just to kind of reinforce how that falls on the timeline, we're looking at, again, prelims or comps. You'll hear both of those terms used interchangeably for that exam happening. It's either going to be in fall 3 or spring 3. But then after that, it really is just you kind of charting your own course. You'll have the support of your major professor, me as your advisor, other faculty, but you're really charting your own course there. And so just maintaining progress. Our department head, you know, I've asked him before, like what advice he has for students, and he says, do one thing every day, you know, so whatever that looks like for maintaining progress, but just keeping that progress going. I see a question more about the GRE or GMAT scores specific for international students. That's a really good question. And I would love to talk to you about that one-on-one. But in terms of how to set that up, I would look into GRE or GMAT scores GRE or GMAT's website directly, just to see in terms of facilitating the exam if they have international locations. But just kind of broadly speaking about scores, we don't have a minimum specified score for admission for the GRE or the GMAT, but we are looking at that through just the lens of the full context of the application. And so that is something that's going to demonstrate readiness for a graduate study. So we don't have a minimum specified score that we're going to ask for. So I really just encourage students that if you sit for the exam, if you feel that the score you got is reflective of your capabilities, then take it that one time and put it on your application. If you look at the score and you think, hey, I just don't think this really demonstrates what I'm capable of, should I sit again? Do it one more time and see if you get scores that are just reflective of you and what you're ready for. So, but that's going to be looked at in the context of the full application. Another question that I get a lot of times from students is, what are you looking for in an applicant? And I think, and we've kind of touched on several of these throughout the conversation, but the 3 things that I see, and I definitely want to ask Dr. Kish and Dr. Sensenig to weigh in here. But the 3 that I see are first, again, going back to that why, and really the research interest, the research purpose. We are a financial planning program. We have CFP programs at the undergrad, master's, and doctoral level, but really our research is not going to be around the technical financial planning side. It's going to be that more behavioral side. It's that financial therapy side. And so really factors that are going to impact client behaviors. And again, Dr. Sensenig and Dr. Kish can speak to this better than I can. But that research purpose is going to be really important because one, it needs to be in line with the research output of K-State, but also it needs to be something that our faculty can support for you. And so I think we mentioned, or we had a note about this earlier in the PowerPoint, almost there. There we go. If you go to our website and you'll see about at the top, click on people, review some of the CVs of our faculty, and that'll give you a good sense of the research that we're doing here at K-State. So that research purpose is really important. The second thing that we're looking for is just commitment to the process. That includes coming to the summer session. Commitment to engaging in classes, attending those virtual meetings. Sometimes those will be during business hours, sometimes they're in the evening. Typically, faculty are going to survey students to say when's the best time, and they'll try to make that work for as many people as possible. But commitment to the process, commitment to engaging, even from a distance. And then the third piece of it is really just kind of that fit of culture in our department. I always tell people or tell students that we have competitive admission, but not competitive enrollment. It's a very collaborative faculty, collaborative students. My little word that I always like to use is for students to be coachable, because that's a really important part of the process, to be able to receive feedback from faculty, to be supportive of fellow students, to be very collaborative. That's really important. So those are three of the things that I think kind of guide what we're looking for when we look at applicants. So bringing that back to the question that was asked for GRE GMAT score, that is one piece of the full picture that we're getting of an applicant when we get the application. But again, happy to talk to you directly for you as an international student. Dr. Kish or Dr. Sensenig, do you want to add anything there about what we look at in applicants?
Yeah, I would say we look at a spirit of intellectual curiosity. We want people who don't, who want to engage in research to find the answers, not to validate an answer that they may think exists already, but also just to be curious and to be open. We, in the application, we ask you to talk about your research interests and that's great. And you may stick with those, but I think we also look for people who have wide ranging interests, recognizing you can't do everything all at once. So you do have to focus. But for me, it's really, do we get a sense that that there's intellectual curiosity? In addition to the things that Morgan said, and culture is very important in our department when we hire. And while we recognize that graduate students it's a different sort of relationship, we still carry that over into our considerations for admittance as well.
And just reinforcing what Dr. Sensenig mentioned earlier, as we're looking at applications, we don't expect you to be researchers. That's why you're coming here, to train you as a researcher. So we don't expect a ton or maybe any research experience up to this point. There are opportunities through some classes that you could potentially start early to get some practice in research, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I don't see any other questions. Feel free to drop some in if there are any lingering questions, but we're pretty close to wrapping up. So just as a reminder, if you have any questions heading out of tonight's session, you can reach out to any of us. I've got my calendar link on here. So happy to meet with you. Throw some time on my calendar. Don't even have to tell me you're doing it, and I'll be happy to talk to you. I do see one question. Is it possible to get a copy of the recording/slides? We will be sending a recording out. That'll come from K-State Online, so I don't know the exact timeline of that, but you should be getting an email with a recording of tonight's session. If you want these slides themselves, please just email me directly, and I'm happy to share a copy of the actual slides. Any final thoughts, Dr. Kish or Dr. Sensenig? Any final questions from our attendees?
Final thoughts for me are, first of all, again, we're pleased that you all made the time to come this evening. I know we have at least one international person, so I haven't done the time zone math, but we're happy to see you all. Please do reach out if you have other questions about the program. We're again more than happy to answer them. If you find yourself in Manhattan, Kansas, stop by, say hi. We are all in a suite, or those of us who work on campus are in a suite. So come by and say hi, see what it's like. And we look forward to seeing many applications in the fall.
Yep, perfect. Yep, I just want to reiterate, thank you so much for joining us. December 1, deadline to apply for the next year. So be working on those applications. But yes, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Schedule some appointments with us or email us if you have questions. Happy to talk to you. But with that, I think we're all done. So I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.